This is Keith Helwig from Cops Corrections Videos. If you like my videos, please subscribe. I'd like to talk about something today, a bit of advice that's offered to all new officers. Inevitably and invariably, when an officer who's new to the either corrections or police work asks what they need to be successful, somebody's going to say you need to be firm, fair, and consistent. Now that's good advice because we know what firm, fair, and consistent means. I've worked with officers that are firm, fair, and consistent. Some of them have been firm, fair, and consistent in a good manner. Some have been firm, fair, and consistent in a bad manner. For example, I worked with an officer who was very firm. There were certain rules he wouldn't follow. He was very fair because he didn't make anybody follow those rules. And he was consistent because no matter how much he was called on the carpet for it, he didn't make those inmates follow the rules. Well, to be firm, fair, and consistent, in my opinion, means that you're firm in your enforcement of the rules. That doesn't mean you're a hard ass. That doesn't mean you go out of your way to bust people's chops. You don't go out of your way to make life miserable for anybody, but you're firm. The inmates know that you're going to be enforcing the rules. It's the same way with a street cop. I'm firm. I've got a set speed, and if anybody goes above that speed, they receive a traffic ticket for it. Being fair. Okay, I'm going to give an example in a prison. You have an inmate who is playing his radio too loudly. Now you happen to like this guy, so you go by, you tell him, hey dude, turn your radio down. The guy's decent about it, turns his radio down, you say, okay, I'm giving you a verbal warning. The cell next to him, the guy is playing his radio too loud. Now this guy turns out he's a real asshat. He's someone that you just don't like, he's just an unpleasant individual. You go down there and you say, hey dude, turn your radio down. He turns the radio down. Same thing. If it hasn't been a problem before, maybe you give him a verbal warning. The problem would come about where if you gave the first guy a verbal warning and then the second guy a conduct report or a disciplinary write-up, that's not being fair. It's also not being consistent. Part of being consistent is that you treat everybody the same way under the same circumstances, that you don't go out of your way to nail somebody for something that you wouldn't with other people. I can give you an example. This last week I was working and I pulled an individual over for speeding. A few minutes later, not a few minutes, probably about an hour later, I decided to stop at one of the local convenience stores and grab a cup of coffee. Well, I was walking in, a man that had been one of my sergeants when I was a captain was walking out with his 9-year-old son. I mentioned I was going to go in and grab a cup of coffee, and he said, hey, we're going down to such and such a place. Why don't you stop down there? We're going to have some cheese curds, from Wisconsin, of course. We're going to have some cheese curds, and you can have a cup of coffee. So I went down there, and this place, it has a small bar, and there's a restaurant attached to it. Well, the tables were full, so we stood at the bar, and I had a cup of coffee. About an hour later, I got a call from my police chief asking me if I could remember the name of the last individual that I gave a citation to. It seems that this individual had called the police chief, not the police chief, but had called the local sheriff's department to report that there was a uniformed officer standing at the bar drinking beer in one of the local establishments. Well, that was me. Obviously, this individual wasn't happy about receiving a speeding ticket, even though I had given him a break on the speed. So he decided he was going to get me in some trouble. Well, as it turned out, there were enough people there that knew I was just drinking coffee, so nothing came of it. Now, when I see this individual, because it's a small town, I'll run into him again, I'm not going to treat him any differently than I would treat anybody else. I'm not lowering my speed tolerances. I'm not going to be looking out for minor offenses. I'm going to treat him the same way that I would treat anybody else. That is being firm, fair, and consistent. If he deserves another citation, he's going to get it. Same as anybody who deserves a citation would get it. If it's fair to give him a citation for it, it's fair to give everybody else a citation for it, and vice versa. And it is consistent. So when you're firm, fair, and consistent, firm, you enforce the rules. Fair, you treat everybody equitably. And consistent, you stick with your enforcement of the rules. This is Keith Helwig. Until next time, stay safe and watch your back.